It's wet. Coops are slow. So we do a little project. I've done one of these before. I learned a lot on that one, boy, did I ever. What we're doing, I got 2 cedar slabs. We're setting these side by side. We're going to fill this center with river rock and epoxy over the whole thing. What we're doing is making a top for a Singer sewing machine base. First thing we're going to do is flip these things over. To start, we got to have a flat surface on the bottom. And what we're doing is putting wax paper on this board. This board's going to go on the bottom, but it's not permanent. And we don't want the epoxy to stick to it, because if the epoxy were to get onto this board, it is permanent.
My healthy routine helps me feel my best. So I add Activia yogurt to my day. With its billions of live and active probiotics, Activia may help support my digestive health, so I can take on my day. Activia, now in probiotic billions.
It's okay that everybody ignores me when I drive. It's fine, because I get a 6-driving bonus check every 6 months on accident free. And I don't share it with Mom, right, Mom?
6 driving bonus checks only from Allstate. Switching to Allstate is worth it. His memo shocked DC. Now, Devin Nunes has powerful reaction on Sunday morning futures. Then, a White House aide and abuse allegation. How to break down the media's response.
Getting heartburn doesn't mean I take a break. It means I take Roller.
Roller goes to work instantly for fast, powerful relief of your worst heartburn. ROLAIDS spells relief. And for great tasting relief,
This deal through Congress. And he didn't go along with it. How much leeway does he get when it comes to DACA to make a deal with Democrats?
I don't think he has to give too much ground. I'll give you the reason why. I think the secret is in the State of the Union address. You're probably aware of that in an aggregate of the polling. 73% of Americans who watch that State of the Union
Now what we do is put this board right here.
the way they resonated with voters. Number 1 was infrastructure, which we hear there's going to be a rollout. Number 2 happened to be immigration. Incidentally, was Americans are in favor of a DACA solution, but when you take a look at the hardest core supporters, the numbers do go down, certainly on the right. And
You should.
people that view any passport citizenship as amnesty. However, what I'll tell you is I believe that if the wall is built, ultimately you will find the base with potentially that citizenship that the president has proposed.
So that's here we have heard from other talk radio hosts. Citizenship, fair bargain. Fox and Friends earlier had a young quote-unquote dreamer, as they are called on their show. He had to say, take a listen.
So that we can actually finally get something done, immigration reform. In terms of
Alright, so now we have our base for it.
one of the greatest presidents to get things done. I mean, look at the tax cuts.
Kind of like the bonus on healthcare reform with the
What we got to do is dam this side.
Number 3 issue that he was looking for, and I think that the March 5th deadline on DACA will force the hand of this debate so they can pursue infrastructure as well.
Well, it certainly is going to force somebody's hand. Whether it forces the president's hand or whether it forces Congress's hand is yet to be seen. Lastly, how big of an issue?
Same thing. What we're doing is taking these pieces and putting them on here. So we're damming this, but you got to support it, otherwise it's gonna. What happened before was as I poured it, the weight actually pushes the tape off.
got in Seoul, South Korea, where we're looking at a possible diplomatic breakthrough might not make Washington too happy. That's my story.
if you're the spouse of a military veteran, I want you to know something. Your spouse has earned the right to apply for a VA home loan.
It could be a different benefit, and we've seen that with watching successful racing with two-car, furniture last year, being a successful win. So,
Put that on.
we could see great results.
All right, rocks. What we got? We got a tub of big rocks, a tub of small rocks. What you do first is take the big rocks to get it filled in on the bottom. You don't want them to stick up over the top. By the way, I love rocks. There's some pretty rocks in here. They say that's why you have big rocks and little rocks, because you want to fill this in pretty quick, but you don't want them sticking up over the top because you're going to have issues with that. Here we are. That's our rocks, and like I said, you want to make sure there's none sticking up too high. You want it as even as possible.
And when you got to look at the rest of the season, I think now he would like to go ahead and back up what he had last.
All right.
Win another championship. I think that's what's important.
I like that. As I say, now we can take the smaller rocks and fill it in.
I guess you might say some bragging rights all the way up at least to and through the duels.
Yeah, you get to celebrate all the rest of the polls for one day. This one you get to celebrate for the whole week. Another 500 polls over. And practice will begin for that coveted pole position. Austin Dillon has done that before in the...
All right, what we're doing is, they call this tabletop epoxy resin, crystal clear. There's cheap and there's expensive. This is old stuff. So originally what we're going to do, and this is a lesson that I learned on the last one. The first one I tried to pour the whole thing at one time. These dams and stuff, pretty much you're guaranteed you're going to have a leak. If you fill all that up and you have a leak, all of that is going to run off onto your floor. I did it, not a pretty picture. The only bright side about that, and the reason what I'm going to do is a small pour first. And that way, if it does leak, that generally will, when it dries, fill that leak. So then you can come back and go over top. Now you pour over and you're never going to know the difference. Like I said, this is old stuff, and that is quite yellow. I'm using this old stuff to do the first pour, and like I said, basically it's just a small pour to find out if there's any leaks, and that'll seal those. And then once that sets, I'm going to come back with I have new stuff, and we'll do the whole pour. But like I said, the first run, you don't really want to do the whole pour. I've tried it. The other thing is, when it says mix this stuff for 5 minutes, they are not joking. The first one of these I did, the thing was absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the prettiest one I've ever done. It was gorgeous, but I had somebody here and they interrupted me, and I mixed it a little bit and poured it. Well, the next day I pick it up, it was still sticky. A month later, it never ever set up. So it ruined the rocks, the boards, everything. It sucked. So when it says mix it for 5 minutes, mix it good. But it's 2 parts, it's equal part. These cups have some lines in them. Not really like the ones I like, but we warm this up a bit. Let's see if we can get it to pour this time. Not that it ever pours easy, but they're even. So now we pour.
I watched the Daytona 500 with family. My sister, maybe some friends might come from up the road. My favorite memories, obviously Dad's win.
I got this pretty full.
All the crew guys shaking his hand. That's the ultimate tip of the cap from all your peers. Spontaneous moment. I don't even think Dad's ready for it. I was thrilled for Dad not only to win the race, but to get that kind of appreciation from his peers.
Every day, people are fighting type 2 diabetes with fitness.
Now, like I said,
Starts with that. Farxiga, along with diet and exercise.
it's a matter of mixing, and it's going to be a while because this has all got to be mixed up.
By up to 1.2 points.
Do not take if allergic to Farxiga. If you experience symptoms of a serious allergic reaction, such as
83. And I don't think we can put into perspective how huge that is. The next is an active driver is Kyle Busch at 42, I believe. Went. I mean, that's double of anybody else out there. And of course, just
Going for the first pour.
Team up with friends. Battle players around the world. Heroes Arena. Free to play, fair to play. Download now. Dance to your own beat this Valentine's Day. Purchase
I say this pour is basically just to make sure our dam's gonna hold. This old stuff, I shouldn't have used it. It's pretty yellow, but as long as it sinks down in, we'll come over with some clear on the top. But like I said, this is basically just to see if these dams are gonna hold. Make sure our dam's gonna hold. This old stuff, I shouldn't have used it. It's pretty yellow, but as long as it sinks down in, we'll come over with some clear on the top. But like I said, this is basically just to see if these dams are gonna hold. I don't even want it to fill all the way up. Alright. Yesterday we did that pour just to make sure that the dams on the end aren't going to leak. I used some really old epoxy that's been in here since last year or the year before. I was a little worried about it actually setting up because it was so thick. I'm not sure I had it mixed good, but it did set up okay. Everything seems to be fine. I only like the color on it too much. But we got the new stuff had inside. So we're going to mix it up and do this final pour. Alright.
But I'd just like to see did hit him as hard as I think I did, or what, or if our bumpers just don't line up as well, scenarios or what. But yeah, I hate that I was the one to do that. Our DC Solar Chevy was a handful all race, and it was even in practice yesterday. So a lot of work to do to just get it driving stable enough for me to run 500 miles next Sunday.
So we'll pour.
Tough race, I guess. You know, I felt on there the whole time. So,
Start mixing.
certainly stability needed. Kyle Larson moving forward.
Thanks, David. He almost crashed early in the race, wound up 10th, and this on the final lap. Obviously, had some issues here with the crash, but this is safe earlier.
Yeah, he just tried to dive low. It looked like he maybe second off that decision and was going to move back up. And only Kyle Larson not that.
Here we go.
There are not many things that rival the energy of a Sunday morning race day in the NHRA, especially when it's the season opener. The first of 24 national events. Welcome to the 58th running of the Lucas Oil Winter Nationals from Auto Club Raceway, Pomona, California. And for the top fuel champion, it is a dream that still seems almost unreal. But the number one is on her way. She begins title defense from the number 2 qualifying position. That was a championship that she shared with her buddy car teammate Robert Height 8 years after his first title. He rolls into Sunday also qualified number 2 with his eyes firmly set on repeating the feat. And how about Bo Butner? A rented car with a leased motor, but more than enough talent and drive to be the last man standing. But the champ starts 2018 with the series Rookie of the Year in round number 1. We welcome you to the Welcome Center that treats all the fans from all the national. We welcome you, and we welcome you at home to the season opener. I'm Dave Reed. He, of course, is Tony Pendergon. And this is Clay Milliken. A little more than 12 hours ago here, blistering this racetrack, making the quickest pass in NHRA history at 3.628 seconds. And so I turn to my partner, Tony Pendergon. Tony, you've been behind the wheel of those. You guys are the drivers. You're the stars.
That was a lot.
But I'm not letting this one slip through. Good job, Clay Milliken. Better job by his tutor, David Grubnick. How is he becoming an A-plus crew chief? Well, let's go to David Grubnick's background. He spent a lot of years in the seat. That experience doesn't hurt. He is good at car and making it quick. I can tell you, I don't know the only person that may know is David Grubnick. It was a very quick run. One of the scariest or most impressive things about it, Clay shut the car off a little bit early, so there's more on the table. This team has the knockout runs. Once they get the consistency they're looking for, look out. Who's ready for race day? You guys ready? And we're ready for more storylines, including the aforementioned David Grubnick. That's the subject. We sent down to the pits to bring him out. Well, Dave, you talked about David Grubnick, Clay Milliken, two very talented individuals. But the question remains, will 2018 be the year that these...
Looks like it filled most of it. What I'm doing here is filling. We got some low spots. Let that settle. To mix up some more.
You're leaving the starting line this weekend with the number 1 on your Monster Energy Dragster. Has it hit you yet? You know, it really hit me Friday morning when my team and I got together and we put that number 1 on the side of our car. That was a huge moment for our team that we were able to celebrate that. I mean, everything went down. What we accomplished, bringing home a championship to our champions, we wanted to put it on our car when we got back here. That Sunday in Pomona, how did you celebrate? You know, Sunday is such a blur. I wish we could go back and slow everything down. You know, my whole team got together. We celebrated in the winter circle, and we carried it on
you never see these pizza. And going back and looking at those photos, it makes me want to cry looking at it. I mean, that is a proud father right there.
What is it like working with Alan Johnson?
I have a plate in my...
Tony, we talk about how quickly things can change in drag racing, and that was about a far left to right switch that we've seen. Well, you know, I started talking about this being the first race of the year, and this is a very common mistake that drivers can make. You know, the track temperature has increased, especially from last night, that really almost at any point that these teams have seen in qualifying, and it does appear that the first thing that happened was the car lost traction, and, you know, she stayed on the throttle, and when you do that with these long wheelbase cars, they can get out of control quick. Scary moment. Brittany Force has got all of the NHRA Safety Safari with her. We'll have more in a moment.
Now, to get the air bubbles out, we use a torch. Word of advice, you just run it over. Bubbles or not, don't stop. Don't heat the same place too much, or it will bubble, and you'll never get that bubble out. Well, it literally just burns it. You do not want to do that. You want to get the bubbles out, but it's just bare. I mean, you're not spending any time anywhere. Because if you do, it will burn the stuff. Another lesson I learned on one. You're going to get a lot of bubbles in that center where the rocks are as it creeps out. And that's okay. We're going to run across it now. We're going to let it sit for a while. We're going to let it level and drain. We'll do this again. What it looks like poured. It's still setting up, but hopefully nothing messes up on it. I've had them not set up, and I've had stuff get in them. Luckily, with it being winter time, there's no bugs. I've had gnats get up in there before. For some reason they gravitated to it, but hopefully everything sets up okay, and then our next shot will be where we pull those off, mix up a little bit, cover that little spot. You can sand this stuff, and what it does is it gets like smoky, and if you go over it again with clear, it'll clear it back out. But you'll see as we get it ready for the base. But yeah, now it's just a matter of every so often going over it with a torch, getting all the air bubbles, make sure they're all popped and out, and waiting for it to set up. Then we'll get it on the base here in a day or two. All right, here's our table. We got it on the old Singer base. As you can see, the top didn't quite smooth out all the way. The last one I did, I pretty much double poured it. I'm not going to do that on this one. I mean, it's just a little bit rough in that center. The rest of it's all pretty smooth. It's pretty good for a tabletop, but